Okay, welcome back. We are live at Rep Express Catering this morning. Our Meet the Candidates event continues now. We're going to focus on the at-large candidates, and Calvin Mercer has joined us here. And we'll start the same way we have with everybody. Calvin, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you've decided to run, and why don't you include why you've decided to run specifically for the at-large seat since you were already on the council in District 4.
Okay. First of all, there's not a candidate in America that's not running to promote jobs and economic development, and I certainly want to continue that emphasis that has been in this city for many years, and in the last 2 years as well, and I appreciate that. But there'll be some differences of the emphasis I bring. We'll do that, work on jobs and economic development, but we'll do it in a context where there's much more openness to the public. I mean, it's the public's government, it's the public's taxpayer money, and we'll do it much more openly and with more public input. That's been my concern. I'm an Eastern North Carolina farm boy, and grew up around a family that ran small businesses for the most part. Farming is a business. And I am running for District 4. I have always viewed my work in District 4 with a citywide view. I've never taken any vote that was narrowly focused on District 4, because in a city this size, what happens on one side of the city impacts the other side of the city, and so I think we have to have that citywide vision. So I've always done that, and there were people that came to me, influential people, and wanted me to run citywide. And the things that I have been working hard for since I got on the council: quality growth, fiscal prudence. I'm a fiscal conservative. Those are messages that I have an opportunity running citywide to take to meet and greets and forums all over the city. So it's an opportunity to take these messages all over the city, which I couldn't do if I were just running one district.
All right, we've only got 8 minutes, so I want to get into some issues
Sure.
here. One of the things that has been said is that you wanted to, and again, this came from a letter to the editor, that you want to run for the citywide to increase your voter base, that you have higher aspirations, that you might be thinking about running for maybe even General Assembly next year. There's probably somebody out here in the audience that would like to hear you answer that one. So,
I am not running for the State House, and the writer the person who wrote that letter said, labeled that as speculation. To my knowledge, there is zero basis for that. I am.
So you will not run for.
Where's Brian? I am not running.
You will not run for State House.
I am not running
year.
for the State House. I have. No, I can go into why I'm not. I mean, I have another job besides this, and I'm certainly not going to quit that job.
You and I have talked about this over the years, and it's been pretty apparent. There's a 4-2 vote, and you've called it a voting block before.
Yeah.
Are you trying to create a voting block now? Are you you're kind of one of the senior people on the council. There's also this belief that you've recruited candidates, you're moving out of your district, moving into the at-large seat because you want to get to that 4th vote.
You know, I've been on the short end of some votes in the last 2 years, but while I've been in the minority on the vote, I think we've been with the people. I think a pay increase for the council members with zero opportunity for public input. I think the public's on our side there. I think it was 4-2, but the 4-1 in that case, I was voting alone. I think I was with the whole public. When you push through a policy, the change in the 3 unrelated, I think we stand on that issue with a lot of citizens, and with the Planning and Zoning Board, and with the Neighborhood Advisory Board, and the Historic Preservation Board, and the Daily Reflector, and East Carolina University. So 4-2, but the 2 in many cases were with the people and with the businesses. So I think what we need on the council is not some new voting block. We just need more transparency, more openness in terms of how we do our business, and more public input and consensus building. You've got to get wide consensus in order for any policy to really be sustainable. And so that's what I'm looking for. I have no interest in a voting block.
Okay.
What I want is healthy, vigorous debate.
This campaign has been a little nasty. There's a political action committee, I think, on both sides, from what I've been able to determine. There is a political action committee that is running some media ads. They're running on this station. I know that there have been flyers in the community that talk.
Anonymous.
I guess the flyers have been anonymous.
Anonymous.
Is that right? The radio ads are not anonymous.
That's correct.
They are disclaimed as.
That's right.
And we've made sure that they've stuck to the FCC and State Board of Elections rules when those ads have run. I want to give you a chance to talk
Sure.
about that. The ads talk about, obviously you are a religion professor, you've written a book. The ads came out talking about some of the things you wrote in the book. You responded and said that it was kind of out of bounds to question your faith. They have now doubled down and come back and pointed out positions in the book where you've talked about such things as the resurrection of Christ, the virgin birth, things like that. I want to give you a chance to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, and I can talk about every one of those issues, and I would love for someone to read
keep in mind we only got like a minute and a half. So.
Read my book, and we'll sit down and talk about it. But basically, Henry, this has been very painful to me for my faith to be attacked. I was led to Christ and was converted to Christianity at age 8 by my mother, who is a fundamentalist Christian and a loving, wonderful, contributing member to society and was a small business owner. And I think the world of her. What I'm doing in this book, to anybody who reads it carefully, is I'm distinguishing religious extremists who do harm and damage. And an example are the people who attacked us, our nation, on 9/11. And there's a lot of people trying to understand religious extremism that does harm. That's different from fundamentalists like my mother that I love, and I don't agree with her on everything, but I certainly love her, and she's a contributing member to our society. And I talk in my book about a wonderful couple who does work in an African-American community who are fundamentalists. Basically these attacks, some anonymous, others we have some profile of who's doing them, are taking out of context. And I can talk about specific issues. I mean, I'm willing to sit down.
Let me just ask you about two real quick, because the basic fundamentals of Christianity, I think people deal with the birth of Christ and the death and resurrection of Christ. Do you believe in the virgin birth and the resurrection of Christ?
Yes.
That seems to be the issue that they are focused on.
Every Sunday morning in my church, I stand up and affirm the Nicene Creed, which affirms all of those doctrines. And my pastor, Reverend Bob Hudak, who's well known in this city, a member of the Human Relations Council, encouraged me to have people go talk to him if they have any question about my commitment to the Christian faith.
Okay.
I am not an extremist to the left or to the right. I am, pretty fair-minded, solid Christian who my wife here is a youth minister in our church. I volunteer. This has been very painful.
We're almost out of time, and again, I think that it's been an interesting campaign. We thought we'd be talking about crime and Walmart.
I'm willing to talk about crime and Walmart too. I voted for Walmart.
Take about
by the
30
way.
seconds, if you would, and tell people why you're the best choice for the at-large seat.
Yeah, Henry, I'll focus on one of the things that the last audit we got was that the revenues are down 5%, the fund balance is down 3%, and expenses are up 1%. And the auditor said you would not want to continue to see decreases in your fund balance. And the budget that this council passed, the staff said is setting us up for possible property tax increase or staff layoffs or prepared meals tax or a reduction in services. Whoever's on this council after the election is going to have their wits about them as they sit down and get the budget and the fiscal house of the city in order. And so I would like to just end on that, since I can't talk about a lot of things, end on that one point.
Thank you, sir. Calvin Mercer.
Thank you, Henry. I always love talking to you. Go Pirates.
Absolutely. Dennis Mitchell's next. Thank you, Calvin. And now the incumbent in the at-large race, Dennis Mitchell. And we're running behind a little bit, so Dennis, sit down. Good to see you again. Let's start with just you telling people about yourself and why you decided to run for re-election.
Hi, my name is Dennis Mitchell. A lot of people know me already. I'm a proud father of 3 children, 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and 3-month-old, me and my wife, Anid. And I'm running again because for the same reasons I ran last time. I saw a void in the areas of job creation and growth in the city of Greenville, and we hit the ball running, and I hope the people have seen it, that we made great strides. I talk to people every day. They're very excited about the trajectory of our city, and I want to continue to move that forward.
Does your opponent have a point when he talks about the 4-2 vote? It's been a 4-2 vote on a lot of issues, and the sense has been on his part, and he's said this publicly many times, that there is a voting block. Is there a voting block?
I don't think so. I think the great majority of our votes, probably upwards of probably 9% of them, have been unanimous on certain issues that have been 4-2. But I think that's a testament to him and probably one of his colleagues' unwillingness to compromise with the rest of the council. I'm willing to work with any city council person to really, because you don't want issues to be controversial. You want everyone to agree with them. But when people take hardcore stances on issues and unwilling to talk to their colleagues, that's what happens.
What do you see as the biggest issues coming forward?
We got to keep the city growing. I mean, right now, we're on a good start, and we have already created jobs. There's more coming up in the announcements in the horizons. We have to keep that going because the issue with finances is not the fact that of the budget, it's the fact that we have a city that's growing, and large institutions like the hospital and university are nonprofits. And then when they buy property, those properties come off the tax rolls. So we cannot sustain our services if we don't grow our tax base. That's the issue. It's not the budget last year. It's the way the city's budget is balanced with property taxes.
Your personal financial situation has to be discussed. It has become an issue in the campaign. You have unpaid federal taxes. Why do you have unpaid federal taxes? Why have you not paid your taxes? And if you would explain to the voters what's behind that situation and why you ended up not being able to pay these taxes.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's an issue because my opponent and his friends have decided to make this the nastiest campaign in the history of the city council. So that's why it's an issue. But the question about this, and I'm glad you asked, and it deserves to be cleared up, is that I've been a successful business person for 8 years. Ran a company, employed over 2,000 people across the state of North Carolina, had 10 offices. And when you provide hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of services and get paid for 50,000 of those services due to new state regulations and reforms and software glitches, and you have a payroll of $100,000, you have a choice to make. Do you pay your employees or do you pay your taxes? What do people do when they get that choice? If I don't pay my employees, I don't have taxes to pay, but I'm going to get a fine from the Department of Labor for $500 every day after the 11th day for not paying my employees.
So help me understand that. So you're saying that there is a revenue stream that came into your company that was cut off. Why?
The state we went from billing one insurance provider to receive services to bill 10 different software that we had to go through to link our medical record system up with, and we're still fighting to get some of that revenue in right now. So some of it has came in. It's not $500,000 as reported. Unfortunately, when you pay your taxes, it's not released until the entire amount is paid, so people don't know that, but we're still fighting to get our revenue stream in. It's not like I took the money and put it in the Cayman account and Wesley sniped it or something like that. We worked hard for that money. I had psychiatrists on staff, had therapists on staff. We provide the service, and we have yet to get paid for them. So that's why the situation the way it was.
Let me ask you about the attacks on Mr. Mercer, this political action committee. What do you know about it? Are you a part of it? And do you agree with the way they've gone about their business?
I know nothing about it. I heard the first ad on TV, and I immediately called Calvin Mercer because I was like, ouch, I immediately called Calvin Mercer and told him that I had nothing to do with it. I just recently heard a second ad from it. So I have nothing to do with that political action committee. Calvin Mercer has obviously made somebody more upset than me that somebody will bring that information out on him, but I have nothing to do with it, absolutely not.
What do you see moving forward? Your opponent was just talking about the budget moving forward. Do you agree with his assessment that there's troubles ahead?
No, and this is one thing that kind of bothers me in this race is that my opponent Calvin is a very, very smart person, and I think he misleads people with information. I asked the auditor when she was there, because it was all talk about our fund balance, things like that. Where was the position of our fund balance? She said the city has a very healthy fund balance and is over average of most of our peers. But she said we do not want to go below the current firm bonds that we have now, which we can't. It's a city council policy that we stay at 14%. So we will never go below that average, and we're above average of our peers. What our city manager is trying to relate to us is that, look, we can't continue to offer the level of services we have in the city if we don't increase the revenue stream coming in the city. It's not one-time funding. It's the continuous revenue stream coming into our city.
Dennis Mitchell, take 30 seconds and tell the voters in the entire city, which will be voting on your race, why you are the better candidate here to be returned to the at-large seat.
Well, about 2 years ago when I started running, we brought this idea of economic development to the race, and everyone was saying we were naive, and my opponent was saying that economic development is not something the city does, that county does that. Well, we've proved them wrong. You know, $42 million new project downtown as a result of the capital incentive program that we developed this year in the city. We've already created 50 jobs, another 184 potentially coming to University area neighborhood. So that's 230-something reasons to vote for me right there. And because we're on a new path in Greenville. We're on a path that we're going to solidify ourselves as the capital of Eastern North Carolina. Too many people know that Greenville is a good city, but too many other people know that Greenville can be a great city. In the next 2 years, if people elect me, we're going to make sure that Greenville becomes a great city.
Dennis Mitchell, everybody. Thank you very much. Quickly, we're going to a commercial break. We'll be right back with the mayor candidates.